Hi guys, my name is Sarah Breskman Cosme, level 3 QHHT practitioner out of the beautiful Florida Keys, and I'm going to read to you this session that is really interesting that I just had. My client wants to remain private, but she said I could read this to you. So here it goes. I asked, is there anything you would like to say about the world's current state of affairs? And they said, we have been watching and looking and seeing that there is a certain peace over humanity currently. And I asked, could you tell me more about that? And they said, yes, it's been lovely to see. People are getting ready for changes to occur. And they said people are slowing down, reconnecting to themselves, connecting to their families of origin, etc., etc. They also said there's less noise, and it comes from people. The peace is coming from people being still and checking in with themselves. They're forced to do this. There's no place to go. So I asked, could you tell me about this virus, the COVID-19 virus, or whatever is making people sick? And they said, well, there is something causing people to be sick. There always is. There is always something. Our history has proven that. Humans are beings that can contract illness from one another. But we would say the biggest illness that is infectious currently is the fear of the virus, not the virus itself. And I asked, so the fear is the biggest issue that is causing people to get sick? And they said, yes, fear is being instilled in the hearts of humans, and it's scary for them to speak to their neighbors, to go to the grocery store, and to be with their friends in a social way. And that fear is so infectious. So I said, is there an actual pandemic? They said, we would say yes. And then I asked, could you tell me more about it? And they said, it's just the same as every other one you've ever had here, and that due to the global nature of society and this media, and the media on your planet, there have been many, how can we say, alterations and affectations, and something that is just like every other virus has been turned into a circus of sorts. So I asked, do people actually have to worry about this virus? And they said, yes, those who are believing that they will be sick. And I asked, so individuals who believe they will be sick should be careful of this virus? And they said, yes, especially the ones who believe that they will be sick. So I asked, what about the people that have weak immune systems? Should they be worried? And they said, no, they are not the ones most at risk. Most at risk are the ones who are the most in fear. So I asked, is this virus different than any other viruses we have experienced before? And they said, yes, it's special in the ways it was marketed. So I asked, where does the virus come from? And they said this can change according to your reality. But if you really want to know where it comes from, it was brought forth through an inkling or desire, an idea plucked from one person or 10 people at the same time. Inspiration always happens that way. So people create the virus first in their thoughts, then it comes through in a manifested way. They said, if you truly want to understand the origins. And I asked, is there no virus at all in some people's reality? And they said, in many people's reality, there is no virus. If you're believing that there is no virus, how could you get something that you don't believe in? And they asked, what's the best way to make that your reality? And they said, to believe that on a deep level, that you're not to be harmed by a virus. So I asked, if you or someone you know or love has already subscribed to this virus or is worried about this virus, what is the best way to heal yourself from this virus? They said, we would say that on a spiritual level, this virus attacks the lungs. Lungs are where grief is held, deep grief. One could work on healing any grief that you've held in your body. Anything that's been lingering, that's an old hurt, a wound, a misdeed, anything that you need to forgive yourself for or that you should forgive others for. So I asked, if you work on this and you clear that out of you, would there be a need for you to get this virus if you do not have any more deep grief work to do? They said, we can say that if you've done your clearing work and your grief work and you are in a state of high vibration, then even if you contracted this virus, it would not harm you. Then they said, do you understand that? That it would just be like getting any other virus, or you may not experience a virus at all, even if you came into contact with it. We would also say to ask yourself if you need to get this virus. Do you need rest? Do you have a belief that the only way you are allowed to rest is to be ill? And that is something that you can work on with yourself. And I asked, how long do you think it will take for the virus to subside? They said it will subside now, and it will be seasonal, but not quite as bad as what's going on right now. So I asked, so I just wanted to be totally clear. Do you see this as the same or worse than the flu, symptoms-wise? They said, it is similar to the flu in its contagion, but notice something. The flu is hardly talked about. It is just handled and dealt with. So now look at the coronavirus and the amount of news and fearful comments about it, and look how big it is. There is something that human beings do not understand yet, that the more you speak about something, the more you call it to you. The bigger you make something, the bigger it gets. The more you dramatize something, the more dramatic or traumatic it becomes. So I asked, are humans learning this from this experience? And they said some, not all. Many of you are used to living in a very fear-based lack mentality that doesn't serve anyone. And I asked, is there any advice you could give people like that? And they said, to be clear, we are never saying to ignore something in your reality. We're not saying that the virus doesn't exist, and we understand that on your plane you have fear. But what we are saying is that by making something into a grandiose concept, there are grandiose consequences. So I said, so the thoughts of people created this into what it is then? And they said, yes, thoughts are always what creates your reality. And I asked, so could the same be true for getting rid of this as well? And they said, absolutely, or to not contract it. And I asked about a cover-up, and they said they couldn't talk about it. They said there's always a cover-up going on behind the scenes. They couldn't talk about it. They said it wasn't a good idea to do so on my video. So I asked, is it a good idea to reopen things now? They said we cannot say that because the most at-risk population, the fearful population, will still contract this if they rush. So I asked, so when they start to open things up, the fearful people may still contract the virus? And they said, yes, those people who have not adapted a new belief system could be worried. And I asked, but if this is just like a flu and just a virus, couldn't those people just not worry about this? And they said, well, many people die every year from the flu, and if you are deadly afraid of this virus could be deadly. And I said, so what is your thought on this? How can these people be helped? And they said, it would help them to adapt the thought that they do not need to be sick. They could say to themselves, I do not need an illness in my life to teach me something. And I asked, so do you see this happening for other viruses in the future? And they said, no, but that can change. The future is not set. I asked, do the people that go to the hospital get the correct treatment for the virus? They said, well, they are really unaware of what the correct treatment for this virus is. I asked if they could tell me, and they said the virus changes in every person according to their thoughts. I also asked, is the use of 5G affecting people in a harmful way? They said, yes, and the virus is exacerbated by the use of 5G. So I asked, so in most of the deaths, were they exacerbated by the 5G? They said, we can just say that in many deaths. Yes, it was. Then I asked, is there any way to protect oneself from 5G? They said, it's a good idea to shore up your aura, have daily practices, and be aware of making your aura strong so that you are able to handle more power in your environment and the electrical impulses of this 5G. Also, very important is just setting your intention that you are able to handle this. Let this be one of your belief systems, and it shall be. Humans are very adaptable. I asked, is the 5G going to stay? And they said, it's hard to tell. So many people are non-believers that electrical magnetic pulses have a negative effect on human beings. I said, well, what type of symptoms do people that have had negative effects of the 5G exhibit? And they said, exhaustion, malaise, lethargy, aches, pains, and mind fog. And I said, well, if you have any of these symptoms, what's the best thing you can do? They said, go to the woods if you can. Grounding is very important. And I asked about crystals. Would any crystals help? They said, there are crystals that definitely help. And I asked, what kind of crystals help? And they said, oh, selenite. Selenite protects you from 5G. And I asked, anything you should do with selenite? They said, set the intention for this to protect you and your family. And that is all you need to do. That's what they said. I'm assuming you could probably use another crystal if you believe that another crystal will work. So I asked, it seems like a lot of the public is learning a lot about Hollywood and different agendas. Could you tell me if there is a pedophilia ring? And they said, there is in the reptilian community. And I asked if they could tell me more about it. And they said, it's draconian and being broken up currently. And so I said, so it's going away? And they said, yes, it is going to be gone over the course of the next couple of years. And I asked, could you tell me more? And they said, again, it's not something we can speak about. It's not safe to. I asked, is this a time where people are learning about corruption in the media? There seems to be a lot of censorship. They said, yes, people are opening their eyes to what is. People have been kept thinking that they are small, and they are starting to learn that that is not true. Also, the censorship will create new platforms for freedom of speech. As people have been isolated and in quarantine, they have been able to see more of the truth of who they are. And by seeing the truth of who they are starting to understand on a deeper level that they are not small beings. The more that they understand that they are not small beings, the more they will understand inadvertently that they have been lied to and controlled. And I said, so what will happen with all this knowledge that is being accessed and with people going into themselves during this shutdown? What will the aftermath be? And they said, from our perspective, we see in the most probable future, there will be a renaissance of sorts, full of art, music, joy, and love. We see humans moving into a golden age of sorts. So I asked, well, what should light workers do during this time? And they said, move in a way that feels good and remember that people must see and awaken on their own accord. I asked, anything else you would like to say? And they said, use this time and not rush through it. Human beings spend so much of their existence wishing through things, ready for the next things. And during this time, there's nowhere to go. There's nothing else to look at. So use it wisely. And I said, do you see this quarantine fully ending soon? And they said, we see it ending sometime in the summer. So I asked, what does the new normal look like? And they say, whatever you want your new normal to look like. I also asked why no one knew about this. Why was it kept secret? I mean, I had some warning about this in some of my sessions. It had to be a level playing field, that they couldn't let people know about this because we are working out karma. Hold on one second. This is homeschooling, okay? So they said, we're all working out our karma. And I asked, why are we working out our karma? And they said, well, this comes from the civilizations of Atlantis and Lemuria, that after those civilizations perished, that the two civilizations on the other side had so much karma, so much trauma, so many things to account for, that they wanted to find a way to work this karma out. And they chose this way. So I asked, well, are we all in trouble? And so karma is really just a do-over, chance to do this over again. And so far we're choosing the right way. We're choosing with love instead of destruction. And this is a very good thing. So we're on the right path. And it also seems that a lot of the conspiracy theories are not conspiracy truth. So best of luck to you all. And I can't wait to see you hopefully soon. Have kids go back to school. Okay, wonderful. Bye.